It is with great displeasure that I am here to inform you that there is no video today. As a result of an unforeseen series of unfortunate events, I have been left in a position where none of my equipment is currently working. It all started on Friday. I was on my cellular device, and I was walking into my little studio here, and I was not paying particularly close attention to my trajectory as I was entering the room. Now, ordinarily, I'm quite cautious when it comes to entering or exiting a room, even going to the extent such as to think about what I've entered the room for, to, as I am entering the room, identify the purpose for which I have entered the room, which does subsequently lead to a number of, quite the chronic issue of walking into a room and forgetting precisely what it is that I have entered that room in order to accomplish, be it to retrieve an article, be it to simply make sure that the room is not on fire, or perhaps even just to confirm that the room is still there, and to reassure my mind that I've not been abducted by the Bureau and placed within the oldest house and one of its many constantly shifting rooms. But sometimes, especially as it comes to my studio, I am typically entering this very room to record a video or to stop putting off the editing process of a video that has already been recorded. But anyway, I digress. Today there is no video because as I was entering the studio, I made the unfortunate mistake of distracting myself with a cat video that I had just pulled up on Reddit, and I was quite distracted, as you may be able to imagine. And in my hubris of perhaps simply trusting my basal ganglia to handle the activity, the quite regular activity that is walking into this room without colliding into everything in sight, I decided that I would dedicate the majority of my brain's processing power, all three brain cells, to navigating the nuance and the joy of experiencing a new cat video that my brain had previously not been exposed to at all. And as I said before, in my hubris made an error in the allocation of resources to the activity of my own body to make a long story, not that much shorter, I ended up colliding with my camera and the tripod on which it is fixed. And before I even knew what was happening, because the cat video was in fact very entertaining, my camera had toppled to the floor and smashed into a million or so pieces. And at that time, I had still not looked up from my cellular device, and so in a attempt to reach out and confirm that I had not just destroyed a piece of equipment, I also slammed my hand into the microphone stand, causing the microphone stand to also fall on a very similar trajectory that which the camera had been on just a few moments earlier. And this ultimately resulted in the microphone, which as a set may be just a little bit heavier than the camera, collided with the camera, which had already been on the floor in a million pieces, and broke it up into some, perhaps even 10,000 more pieces, which created quite the mess. Lots of shattered glass and cardboard. And the mere prospect of recovering from such a catastrophic disaster was quite difficult to imagine, though if you are familiar with my tenacity for broken things, I did make a considerable attempt to repair my equipment. However, I was completely unsuccessful, to the point that the microphone, when I had made attempts to repair it, had actually somehow made it worse, instead of making a reconstructed version of what once was a functional microphone. I ended up making a very bad speaker, which, when utilized, is really only able to emit very uncomfortable, high-pitched frequencies. Now this leads me on to the second part of the problem. See, I figured, oh well, my microphone is destroyed and no longer functional. However, I can still make an attempt to fix my camera, or so I thought. But as it turns out, the high-pitched noises that my makeshift microphone, that turned out to be a very bad speaker, had been making a very awful high-pitched noise for a very long time, such that it had gotten to the point that my neighbors, every single one in the building that my apartment is in, had all called the police. And as a result, my home was raided, and they took my camera, which was on the floor in a million pieces, pieces in as evidence, and the crime that I was charged with was not only disturbing the peace, but also charged with walking into a room and being such a buffoon as to knock over several pieces of equipment while taking in no consideration for my neighbors and the peace at large. It even made it to the point that the Supreme Court got involved in the case of me versus the entire neighborhood, and a case that ended up taking several weeks to reach its final conclusion. Anyway, to make a long story longer, that is part of the reason why there is no video today. The second part is because I overslept. And so for that reason, there is no video today.